I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
To the Dulce Candy Podcast, your go-to destination for self-love, high vibe, living, and personal development. I am Dulce Candy, your host, war veteran, published author, meditation teacher, and content creator, here to guide you on a journey of transformation and growth. Through enlightening conversations, practical strategies, and inspiring stories, we'll delve into mindfulness, spirituality, and the art of living a high vibe life. Each week, we'll explore the tools to manifest love, abundance, and positivity in all aspects of life. So sit back, tune in, and get ready to elevate your soul as we embark on this beautiful and transformative journey together. Welcome to the Dulce Candy Podcast. Welcome, everybody. We are back with another episode, and I have my beautiful friend, Jessica Resendiz, who is a fashion illustrator, designer, entrepreneur, visionary, awesome person all around. And I'm really happy to have you here today and have a beautiful discussion about motherhood, self-care, and business, of course.
Thank you so much, Dulce, for having me in your sacred space. And I'm so excited. I'm also very proud of you. So
likewise.
So many emotions going on. But gracias. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, I want to start off by just having you share a little bit about who you are and the gifts that you share to the world.
So my name is Jessica Resendiz. I am fashion designer and illustrator for my business, Raggedy Tiff. I feel like I've been doing my business for so many years, but I always want to say, or I feel like I want to, say that I left my corporate secure job in 2016 to pursue my business now. So I always say that I've been doing it for all my life, but in reality, I feel like when it really did happen was in 2016. Even though it's been years. I want to say like 2013 to early 2012.
That's when you started Raggedy Tiff?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it all started going to college, because a lot of people always ask me, well, what's Raggedy Tiff? Who's Tiff?
Exactly. I wanted to ask you that.
Why Raggedy Tiff? What does it mean?
Exactly.
I get those questions all the time. And I had a mentor in college who told me, when you're gonna start a business, you're gonna come up with so many names, and you have to love your name. And for me, it was just more like really spontaneous. I had a project in my senior year in college, and like I had to come up with this brand name because this project was gonna develop into like your boutique name. And so for some reason, I started digging all these brands, and I started looking at like Paige. Well, then who's Paige? Who owns Paige? Paige was a jean company. Rag and Bone is it really about like a rag and a bone? No, it's like it was really different. So for me, it was just like, well, I have to do this project. I don't know if I'm going to keep the name. I kind of wanted to be funky and different and just kind of have people question. But I also want to like incorporate my daughter's name for whatever reason, just because, not for whatever reason, but more like I really want her to be part of this journey with me. But how do I incorporate my brand with her name? So I just thought about like Raggedy Tiff, like bringing raggedy clothes and threads, like vintage finds, because I grew up basically going to thrift shops and going with my mom to the Salvation Army to get secondhand clothing. we didn't grow up with much, so that was all I knew growing up. It was hand-me-downs. It was Goodwill, Salvation Army, garage sales, state sales. And so all these raggedy threads, I would go home, revamp the whole wardrobe and make it into like wearable pieces. I guess for me, it was just more like I didn't know what fashion was, but I was kind of like curious and wanted to know, well, how can I make my clothes trendy, even though I didn't have much. So that's really when it started. So I really wanted to bring in like the Raggedy name and then the Tiff. And for some reason, it was just so weird. And I presented for my last portfolio in college. And I remember people were like, that's just so weird and odd. And then I just kept it for so many years. And even like 5 years ago, I was questioning it because I still didn't have my brand trademark.
Yeah.
So I remember when we were doing like the whole paperwork, they were asking me, so what are we going to name this? For me, I thought it needed to be Spanglish. It needed to fit something like my culture, and it had to be in Spanish, because if not, I wasn't going to be Latina owned, you know? So that was holding me back. But then I started thinking, you know what? This is really what began my journey. So even though it was like a spontaneous like name, it really reminds me of where I came from. Mm-hmm. It really reminds me of the times when I was struggling in college. My daughter was really small. So I'm going to keep it. Like something in me told me, keep the name, trademark it, do all the legal stuff. And even again, I told my mentor, I think I did the right decision. And she's like, yeah, I love it. It's different.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to touch on also like how you said that you thought it wasn't Latina enough. Mm-hmm. And what does that even mean? You know what I mean? For it to be a Latina-owned business, does it have to always be representing where you come from? And how important is that for you? Because obviously in everything that you do, you embody where you came from, the storytelling, the products, how you show up, you know?
Absolutely. So when I was thinking about switching the name to something more Spanglish, I started thinking, okay, well, I'm doing all these inspired pieces that reflect and represent my culture. So I felt like I needed to push that brand name into Spanglish. But then I said, you know what? At the end of the day, it's really the story behind my pieces and the brand. So yeah, they're going to call it Raggedy Tiff, but they're just going to remember the pieces that I make. You know, coming from immigrant parents, you know, being born in Mexico, we literally, like my mother and I crossed the border. Like that's just like another whole story. But my mother and I were the last ones to cross. So my father was already out here working and doing his thing. And my mom, the Capricorn that she is, she's a December Capricorn. She just decided that having an 8-month baby, she was going to cross the border in her little rebozo, and she was going to cross the states. And she just decided to do that. And, you know, coming from that, you know, that courageous, you know, mother, you know, we just didn't have a choice growing up. It was more of a necessity. You know, again, we didn't have so much growing up. So whatever clothing that we had, whatever I had, my brother and I, it was just either hand-me-downs or during Saturdays, my parents would take us to the garage sales. So and like, yeah, it's so much fun. Now it's like a huge thing, right? It's like a thing. But for us starting, it was a necessity. We just didn't have enough money. And so whatever we could find for a couple of bucks, we made it by. Yeah. And I even remember going to a swap meet was a luxury because there was newer things there. So maybe if you needed a pair of jeans, it was going to be a couple bucks. But we also had the option to buy secondhand. And that was my whole life growing up. I never knew about Mervyn's. I never knew about going to the mall until like I hit literally like my last year of senior year. That's when I knew that I could buy new stuff. Wow. Because everything, my whole life was hand-me-downs, everything. And once it becomes a necessity, you just kind of get used to it, unfortunately. I mean, in many ways, you get like, okay, we're only allowed to buy this. We're only limited to buy things that are secondhand because we can't go to a store, we can't go to the mall and spend my parents' money. So that was my whole childhood, getting clothing from the Salvation Army. Even on Fridays, we would go and fill up a bag. I don't know if they do it anymore, but the Salvation Army had a thing where you could fill a bag for $5 or $10, and you could fill it all, like squish it. And I remember, I think I was a freshman. I needed to go to a school dance, and I found a dress. Stuffing. I'm like, that dress is puffy, but I'm just gonna stick it in that bag. And it was so funny, but like in a way, it's kind of like, okay, well, this is the only clothes I have. And then I remember I was like 7, 8 years old. I started remembering that at that time, kids were wearing overalls with cute little patches and like super cute clothes. And obviously, you learn not to ask your parents for help or for new things, because you're kind of like, you already know they're struggling, so why am I going to ask? So whatever clothes they would buy me, I would like rip it up, and I would start sewing sequences and rhinestones and just made it more, I guess for me, more edgy, because again, I didn't know what fashion was. I didn't have resources about fashion. I didn't know about fashion school or fashion design or for like the fashion trends.
That is so interesting. So you were designing, but you weren't aware of like, you didn't know like, I want to be a fashion designer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it was just, again, like I said, necessity, curiosity. And this is where it really opened my eyes. We went to a estate sale in San Diego, and it was like this very, very wealthy home. And I'm never going to forget this moment in my life where I really discovered fashion. And I always tell this story because this is when I realized, like, wow, there's actually people making clothes that are fashionable, and that obviously there was just like so much elegance with like couture and dresses. And we went to this home, and this woman had a craft room with gift wrapping, stickers. She had walls of stickers labeled like with seasons. And I remember like there's actually people that live in this world that collect stickers for a living. And then I go to her other room, and she had a sewing room, and she had a box full of magazines. Like Elle,
what
Beau.
a dream.
Yeah, a box. And I've never seen a magazine in my life. So I go and I start flipping pages, and I'm thinking in my head, wow, there's actually people that make dresses, that make clothes. But I never really saw people that looked like me. It was more, for me, it was a different world. So then I started thinking, like, who are these people? Like, what are they wearing? Like, where can I get a hold of these people? And again, my curiosity, I've never been afraid of asking questions, and that's something that I'm very proud of. So I would go to school. My teachers had nothing to do with fashion, but I would go and ask my teachers, like, look, I got this magazine. What are these people? Like, what are they called? And I remember going to the librarian, like anywhere I could go and ask questions, because I wanted to know what it was. I was so intrigued that I wanted to know who these people were. And people slowly would tell me, well, this is so-and-so, Ralph Lauren, this is this designer. And that's when I started thinking, like, wow, like there's actually people that make really cool clothes out there in the world. I can't believe I've never seen this in my life.
That is crazy. And what I was thinking about when you were telling that story also is how ever since you were little, you've had this love for creativity and creating your own pieces and just, and you know, always asking questions and finding out about things. And I feel like God, for some reason, always puts the right things in front of us in our path, like the challenges. Do you think maybe obviously we can't know the future or dependent on if we made different choices, but I just think it's really cool to see how ever since you were little, whatever God placed in your life has led you to here. You know what I mean?
I really do think so. Yeah. Whatever, like if God or the universe placed these things in my life so that I could be more curious and ask people, because obviously I couldn't go to my parents and ask them like, what's fashion, or they were always busy for work. So for me, it was just like being alone in my room, flipping these pages and making collages in my wall, like thinking, this is what I want to do. Obviously, I didn't want to do exactly what they did, but I wanted to get to that point. And I feel like I didn't know at the time what manifestation was, but I feel like I manifested that. Putting your curiosities, your visions, your ideas, cutting all these magazines that I found at the estate sale and just filling up my wall with like collages of what I want to do, people that I want to meet, people that I hope to one day work with, stuff like that, without even knowing. It was just like, oh, let me cut this. Maybe one day I'm going to meet her. Again, I didn't know what that was. It was just more of like, I was being placed these things so that I could, you know, be more curious, but also like fall in love with it. Because again, I didn't wake up, or I wasn't born wanting to be a designer. It was more of like, oh shoot, you know, this is what I have and this is what I'm going to work with.
Have you ever wanted to do anything else besides being a fashion designer?
I'm at the point in my life, I guess my late 30s in my life, where you go through these like moments in your life where like, oh, I would be a good teacher. I'd be a good, for some reason, I don't know why I want to be a high school teacher all of a sudden. And then my partner would tell me like, well, I mean, you're going to have to deal with, like these kids and
their hormones.
And they don't even get paid good. I'm like, no, but it's about teaching and being connected with these children, because I wish when I was in at least in elementary and middle school, because in high school that's when I learned that it was actually a career. But when I was going in elementary or in middle school, I wish I had teachers I could have conversations with about like trends and fashion and business. I mean, it's more now common with entrepreneurship and having to do business. I still feel like they're lacking on taxes, how to teach you how to do taxes.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But, some progress, I guess it's happening. But, yeah, it's so weird. I
love that idea. I think for all the young little boys and little girls who want to be designers, to see someone like you, especially hearing your story and where you come from, being an immigrant and achieving all the incredible things that you've done in your life, that is so inspiring,
Thank you.
And I think having an example like you in classrooms, whether it be mentoring or, a professor in the future,
even
you
if
never
I don't
know.
make money, I'm like, I just want to be there. I want to connect with, for me, I love connection. I love connecting with others, especially giving them resources. And for me, maybe inspire some kids, because not a lot of kids have that inspiration at home. Yeah,
exactly. So are you living your dream, the dreams that you had as a little girl now? Would you say that you are?
Am I living my dream?
Yeah.
It's funny because I started thinking about things that I've been doing recently that I feel a lot of guilt by, and I'll give you an example for that. I'm doing a lot of the things now in my late 30s that a lot of the people perhaps in my family would do when they retired. And so what that means is like I'm doing things like my business. Yeah. Till this day, my parents know that I have a business, but they don't understand that this is what's actually making me a living. Yeah. Like they'll question and tell me, "You really make money?" And sometimes I have to like show them numbers, and I'll show my dad. He's like, "Holy crap, this is a lot." And I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, this is my business. This is what I do full time, even though you guys don't believe me." Yeah. Because they're so like, they know that I went to school for fashion. They know that I have a business, but they don't, maybe because they don't live too close to me, they don't know what I do every day.
How far are they from you?
San Diego's only like an hour and a half. Yeah, so it's not too far. And like, it's funny because
they're not in that world.
No, they're more like, they're till this day they've never been to a pop-up or to an event, not because they don't want to. I don't understand. I don't know how to say it.
No, I totally understand.
And it's kind of like, their world is different. And sometimes I do stuff like, for example, I'll travel for work to do pop-ups, right? I'll go to a different state. And my dad would be like, "Oh, are they paying you to do that? Or who's flying you out?" And I'm like, occasionally there's businesses that'll pay me or fly me out to do events. But sometimes as a small business, I have to use my own money to do that. And he's like, "Oh, you shouldn't use your own money." And I'm like, "I know, Dad, but sometimes you have to be able to grow and evolve and do things out of, relying on other people or a company. Sometimes you have to set your own rules, and you kind of set your own rules when you have your own business. So they're kind of still understanding, but then also like I'll work. I have a very strict schedule. I have a deep passion for indoor climbing. I climb a lot. And so when I tell my parents that I do these hobbies, they're like, well, you should be like just home cleaning. Like their mentality is very different.
More old school?
Yeah.
Traditional?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you're traveling too much. You should wait till you're retired. And for me, it's like, well, yes and no. Like I live in a different generation where I'm doing a lot of the things that a lot of people wait till they retire. Yeah. And I don't want to live like that.
Yes.
I don't want to wait till I'm 50 or 60 because life is not promised.
Exactly.
And I don't want to live in regrets, and I don't want to show my daughter that she has to work so hard and then at 55 or 60 she has to retire. Like she could do what she loves at an early, whatever she decides to do in her life, she could start it off early, work hard, work smartly, and then eventually there's going to come moments where you're going to give yourself permission, or not permission, but give yourself the luxury to do things like a vacation, or maybe you're going to join a hobby. You don't really have to wait till you're retired.
Yeah, it's that mentality that we have to break, you know, because I was going to ask you earlier about, like, did you ever think about, like, just strictly going into a 9-to-5? I think in the case of, like, us as being immigrants and Latinas and almost like the first generation doing a lot of those things, it's something completely new for past generations, you know? And so it does take some time for them to even understand what we're doing, or for them to even adapt to, hey, you can live your life now. You know, you don't have to suffer. You don't have to struggle all the time. And sometimes I feel like that's so engraved.
Absolutely. You know? Like, I always tell my parents, I'm so thankful that you guys taught me the hustle and to work hard and to be appreciative of of where we live and our country, and to take advantage. But I guess at a certain limit, like I tell them, it's okay for me to do things for myself. It helps me nourish so that the next day or the next week I'm fully present in my job, because having my job is stressful, and I don't think they fully understand that, again, because they don't get to see me every day, so they don't see that. They only get to see what their friends or coworkers send them. Oh, did you see this article about Jessica doing this? It's all like, they only see what's out. Yeah. Like interviews or TVs or even with the Clippers, like stuff like that. They only see when it's already out. They don't see
the work that
the
actually,
BTS.
And, you know, and you're working really hard also, you know, just like they've worked really hard. Like also you are too, you know, it's just different.
In a different way, right?
Yeah, in a different way. But I appreciate like that. I love being an immigrant because I feel like that's just so ingrained in us, to hustle and to work hard and to not give up and to persevere and be persistent. You know, those are qualities that I'm so grateful to have.
Absolutely.
You know?
No, I agree. And like I said, I'm very grateful I have those traits, but I'm also learning to like listen to my body. I think a lot of people think that, being in a hustle mode, you have to like break your back and do all these things. And it gets to the point, right?
Seriously, let's talk about that.
Yes.
That hustle mentality, even though it works, it's gotten us to where it's gotten us. However, it could also be very toxic, because do you ever feel like it's never enough what you're doing? I mean, you just did something incredible with the LA Clippers. That's like huge,
Thank
you know,
Thank you.
Monumental.
Thank you.
And do you ever feel like, is this enough? Do I need to continue to do more? What's the next thing?
It's, again, you know, how we were raised. I always feel like it's not enough. I feel like, oh, maybe I need to go now. I feel pressure. Now it's LA Clippers. Why not the Lakers? Why not the Dodgers? I had so many comments, people saying, "Oh, next is the Dodgers,"
and you'll make it happen. And why not? I mean,
why not?
Exactly.
Yeah, bring it on.
Yeah.
But it's you're set these expectations where if this load of pressure comes and you feel like, okay, well, now it's like I need to do bigger, you know, bigger than the Clippers, even though it's a huge deal. And I do feel, and I guess I'm still working on it, where I take compliments, not that I don't appreciate compliments, but I don't do really well with when people congratulate me.
Really?
I'm trying to fully understand why. When I'll give you an example. Maybe my daughter would tell me, Mom, you did amazing. That's crazy. I'm like, oh, thank you, baby.
Do you believe it?
I believe it, but I hate compliments.
Okay, why?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure
Okay.
that out. I think it's very deep down. There has to be something.
Like recognizing? Do you like other people recognizing your greatness? Do you have a hard time with that?
Yeah, because I feel like, oh, maybe they're lying.
Oh, I feel the same way.
I'm like,
my
they're just
gosh.
being nice.
That is so funny. I feel the same way. I feel like
They're lying to me.
yeah,
they just want to be nice. They want to be my friend.
Exactly. Oh my God.
So maybe it's
you almost
deep.
kind of brush it off, right? Like it doesn't sink into you at any
No.
level. Yeah.
I don't believe.
I
Not that
wonder
I
what
don't
that
believe
is.
my work. It's just
Yeah.
more like, again, like I really do appreciate it and take it. Like I really accept it, but maybe again, it has to do with my parents. They're like, not everybody's your friend, Jess. Like, be careful. It's so a lot has to be engraved with that. Maybe I've been cautious. Maybe, maybe my mom is just in that way, kind of like she's still in my ears saying like, you know.
Yeah.
So maybe it has to do a lot with how my parents taught me to be, I guess, be aware
Or even like, I was just thinking like my childhood, I never really got that kind of love before up until like outer success came along. Before that, I was kind of like blending into the background, irrelevant, you know? So for me, it's kind of like, I feel the same way, you know? I don't really believe it. I appreciate it, but I don't really
It's hard to
believe it.
explain, right?
Yeah, it's hard to
I can't
explain.
explain it. Yeah.
How and what steps are you taking to shift your mindset from what I did today was enough and I could relax, I can take some time off, my business is going to continue moving forward, I don't always need to be on and active and doing something for it?
For a while, I didn't believe in breaks. I felt like breaks were a waste of time and they were just gonna, I felt like if I took a break or even a nap, I will lose opportunities. Yeah. That's how I felt. And so now I went through a very dark moment in my life in late 2020. And that's when I realized that it was either I just needed to save myself. So that's when I realized that I wasn't even burned out. I was just drained, like in a way that it just no energy, physically, mentally. It was a lot. And I woke up in the middle of the night one night and I said, I'm literally dying inside. Even though I didn't, like, nothing was happening to me, but I woke up from that I woke up in the middle of the night and I said, I need to save myself. I can't depend on, people that love me if I'm okay. If I'm acting that I'm okay and I'm working and doing all these things, they're going to think I'm okay. I can't wait for people to ask me, are you okay? Do you need a glass of water? Maybe you should take some rest off. So it's more of like I need to save myself in a way, like I need to listen to my body. I wasn't listening to my body. I was rejecting a lot. So there was a moment in my life where I felt like I'm not listening to my body. I'm not taking breaks. I'm not doing things that I enjoy. And that's when I realized that I needed to change so many things in my life. It was a lot.
And what got you to that place that, you woke up in the middle of the night and you felt like basically that was the tipping point for you, right? So what do you think led up to that moment that you weren't paying attention to?
I lost so much weight. I was like literally 90 pounds.
What?
And I'm normally like 130, 32. That's always been my weight, even after having my daughter. And I started noticing I got really anxious where it was health anxiety. Mm-hmm. I started thinking so much about like, what am I working for? What if one day I'm gonna pass away and what's gonna happen? It was always like, what if? I was thinking so much about the future and about and I think a lot had to do with COVID too.
Yeah.
That it triggered me even worse, where the unknown, what was, and I will, again, going back to my curiosity, I've always been curious. And I guess a lot has to do too, again, with how I was brought up, because I was always the oldest, and I had to take care of my brother, and I had to figure it out and be independent and try to figure things out my whole life. That when COVID hit, I was like, well, what's going on? Why are people dying? So I did my research. We need to do this. We need to stay home. We need to like be in a bubble.
Yeah.
And that really affected me. It wasn't even so much about my business. I wasn't worried about what's going to happen with my business. For some reason, I said, I think I'm going to be fine with my business. And that was probably one of the most successful of my business, because everybody was shopping online.
Yeah.
Everybody was just spending money. That was fine, but I wasn't okay mentally. I was like physically, I was losing weight because I was worried about the world, and I couldn't do anything about it. I was worried about some of my family members passing away every other month because of COVID. And I was just thinking, am I next? Is my daughter next? Who's next? So when I get really anxious, I lose appetite, and I wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
And I lost so much weight, and a lot of my stress came from my muscles, tension, so much headaches and migraines. And I was just like, no, like something's wrong. Like I'm worrying, I'm putting so much worry in this world. Like that's not my job to save the world. Because I've always been so used to taking care of my family and being independent and raising a daughter, basically raising each other together. Yeah. So it was just more like I couldn't figure out, but then I figured out that I was damaging myself, and that I needed to, in order for me to continue this successful business, I needed to take care of myself so that I could take care of my business, my family, and the people that I love. Or else, I don't know what would have happened in 2020.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate Pina Colada and Thai iced coffee flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
Yeah, I think a lot of us face that pressure of having to figure out life on our own as little kids. And so we're always kind of like in a fight or flight. You know, that's like our normal state of being. It's just protective and ready to survive, you know, in many different ways, and take care of ourselves and figure everything out. And you being the oldest, you didn't have someone there to support you and to show you what school was going to look like each year, or, you know, to really guide you in the way that we need to. And unfortunately, our parents weren't able to do that because, well, mine specifically, you know, because working and providing and surviving also for us, that it gets to be a lot, you know. At some point, it's completely overwhelming. What did you do to start implementing self-care?
So I started doing a lot of research because I'm a geek. Yeah. I go on the computer and just try to research all these symptoms that I was having, even emotions. Like, why am I feeling sad? Why do I feel like something's going to happen to me? Like, I just started doing research. And then I was talking to someone and they told me, I started having sensations in my body. And then I used to Google what those sensations were. And that's your worst enemy. Self-diagnosing yourself and having to predict all these things. So I stopped doing that since 2020. I don't Google any symptoms. If I feel weird, I just call my doctor. Yeah, that's all I could do. But I started doing research about my emotions, how I physically felt, and burnout too. And that's when I realized that I needed to do a lot of work on myself. I was in a point in my life where I told myself, I'm making all this money and I'm really, really miserable. What can I do with that money? It's not going to hurt me to take $100 out every week so that I could take care of myself.
Yeah.
And so I started doing research, and I researched that acupuncture and cupping and actually working with your body could help you a lot with, especially with migraines, because I still do have migraines, but not like before. And so I said, $100 is not going to hurt for me to go get myself. And I had to wait actually because I couldn't go during COVID.
Oh my God.
So I had to like wait for so long. I was just like eager to like, when are they going to give us the call to like actually get out? And once they give us the green light, I was like, I'm going to book myself an acupuncture. And it was probably the best decision I did for myself.
Do you still go?
I still go occasionally, but my migraines are getting better.
Yeah.
A lot has to do with your nervous system, especially because for me, at least for me, I stress a lot. I'm thinking 200 things about how I'm going to do my business, how am I going to take care of my daughter, my family, my dogs, like so many things. I feel fully responsible, even though it's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
I did acupuncture for almost 6-7 months. Every week I would go, and then I do cupping. And I went to a really great doctor in Encino, Balance Within.
Oh,
and he is probably one of the bestest doctors that I've ever been to. Acupuncturist,
Okay.
Dr. Alex.
Okay.
And I
Shout
remember,
out.
yes, not paid. And I remember I was so desperate, and I started crying in front of him. I've never met him. I didn't know who he was. And I just told him, like, my nerves, my back hurts. And he's like, we're going to take care of you. And he gave me like this Western medicine, like como un té.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot. He's like, it's going to help a lot with your nervous system. I told him, basically, I didn't have to tell him this, but for some reason, I felt so like a safe space. Like, this is what I have. This is what I want to do. I researched that I have this, so I think this might help. And he was telling me, you're in good hands. I'm going to give you this tea so that it can help with your anxiety, especially the anxiety was over the roof. And then it's going to take time. You're not going to see anything in the next sessions. But I remember it, like sometimes when I would have the needles in my forehead, my ear, and then some of them on my chest, I would just start crying. Yeah. Of like relief. Like, I'm really doing this for myself. Like,
and releasing, right?
Yes,
you were releasing a lot.
I was just, it was, and he would put music too music that reminded me, sometimes it was very soothing, but sometimes the music would be like, I can't think of the name, but like back when I was in middle school, music that made me, for some reason, I was like, oh, I used to listen to this when I was in 6th grade. And it reminded me a lot of like things growing up, and I started seeing a therapist too, and it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work.
That's so good. Always taking that first step,
Yeah.
How do you structure your days now to make sure that you implement self-care?
So I really set a really strict schedule. So I'm a morning person. I've always been a morning person. So I'll wake up at 5. Now, it used to be really early, but now it's like 5:55. And I'll take from 5 to 8 just for myself.
Love.
And even my daughter, I'll squeeze a little bit of time just because she goes to school early. So I've had this, maybe it's like a love language thing for my daughter. But ever since she was little, obviously we're mothers, right? I've always made her breakfast because I know she's going to eat. And then, if you don't eat in school, that's on you. Ni modo. I fed you in the house. So I always do that in the mornings. Like, I'll make her an oatmeal or a bagel or something nice for her to eat. But I always take time for myself. I journal a lot. I read a lot. I love reading books.
What are you reading right now?
So right now I'm reading, actually I have it in my car. It's by Rick Rubin. It's The Art of, I have a picture.
Okay.
But it's by Rick Rubin.
Okay. No. Maybe if I know the name of the book.
Yeah, he's very inspirational. I'll show you a picture. I do a lot of reading, and then when I don't want to hear my phone, even if it's on silent, I just put it on airplane mode.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best. And then I just, feed myself. I go on a lot of walks. So I do a lot of running now. I have a passion for running. I'm not good at it, but I love running. So I do that for myself, and then 8 comes, and that's when what do I need around the house? Like, I need to sweep. I need to check on the dog's water. Just stuff that I'll only do 1 hour in the morning for my home. The rest, it has to wait either later.
Yeah.
And the rest of the day is just work, either emails, events, or even packing orders. I still, pack my orders. And then by 5 p.m., 5:30ish, that's it. No more work. I leave that to cooking. I'm not a good cook, but that's been like my thing now, cooking at home, feeding myself or feeding my whole family food from scratch. I think it's the best.
It's the best. It really is. It really is the best. And you eat healthier, you know what you're eating. And it's also, for me, it's a meditative practice. Cooking and putting meals together and everything it's way better than eating out. Sometimes we get into that bad habit of just eating out because we're so busy. But so we're also trying to eat at home more. I feel like the recipe that you have is anyone can implement depending on what they like, so moving your body is so important. That running and walking, oh my gosh.
Yes,
it is like magic for your mental health,
It's unbelievable. Even like when I'm walking my dog and I'm like, okay, I could easily be on my phone, but I just put it away and I just started noticing things like, okay, let me see how the sky is.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I have another thing, and this is so weird. I always tell my family about it and they start laughing. So I track planes.
What?
For example, where I live, it's very like valleys.
Okay.
So you see planes going back
all the time,
north and south, right? So I've always been curious, like, where the hell is this? Where is this airplane going? And I have it's called Plane Tracker Radar. So whatever plane that you see going above or is coming, it tells you where it departed and where it's going.
Oh.
So a lot of where I live in the area, they're all going to like up in the Bay Area, Vegas, Salt Lake, Denver. So you could track right now if an airplane's going by your house, you can see where it departed from. If it's Delta, Spirit, Southwest, how many passengers are
the names of the passengers, their social,
what time they're gonna arrive, and and you could actually track them if it's leaving from Burbank to, let's say, to the Bay Area. You could track them from the Bay Area. It's like the most interesting thing.
That is so funny because I've always, whenever I see an airplane, I'm all like, ¿De dónde viene? ¿De dónde viene? Where's it going? Who's in it? Who's in it and everything. Interesting.
I'll give you the app. It's so weird. It's so weird. So before I go to bed, I try, that's something I'm still learning, not to be on my phone. But then I'm kind of like, okay, let me track planes right now, where they're going at.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's interesting. Find whatever works for you.
Whatever makes you happy.
Exactly. Whatever makes you happy.
Whatever has nothing to do. Once my schedule comes at 5:30 and I don't do anything related with my business, I just do like the weirdest things ever, like learning how to cook.
Yeah, exactly.
My daughter plays indoor drumline, so I go and be that mom, and I'm just there rooting for her. And,
I love that. I was just telling my husband just yesterday because we were thinking of getting our little one into karate or jiu-jitsu or something like that, and I want to join karate too. And I told him we all need to have like an extracurricular activity that is outside of school and business and our normal routines, because like life is so short to be stuck in this routine of always the same things. That's so unhealthy.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So sign up for a class or whatever,
whatever makes you, even if you're curious, like
exactly. Yeah.
And then you try it. If you don't like it, then okay, on to the next one until you find the one that really truly brings you joy. Because when I started doing indoor climbing, I've never been afraid of heights, but I was like, oh, it's supposed to be like more athletic people that really actually want to climb rocks. And then eventually I want to be able to climb a real rock, so I'm training for that.
So you want to go rock climbing?
I want to rock climb.
Oh, that's going to be amazing.
So weird, but I love it.
Nature.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I love that.
And they'll say it's so challenging. Like when for me, it's been so hard for me to be in the moment because when you are a mother and you run a business and you have so much going on, you're thinking so many things.
Yeah.
So it's always been so hard for me to be in the moment. So when I started doing research of like rock climbing or indoor climbing, you're really like, okay, I'm climbing these boulders. How am I going to get to the top? So you're constantly just trying to figure out how am I going to get to the top and how I'm going to go down. And it's been like, it's been like, I know it's weird, but it's been so therapeutic for me to do that. I do it every other day, but it's so beautiful. It's so challenging. Yeah. It's so like my best friends that come from San Diego to come visit me, I tell them, let's go. Yeah. Like I have a pass. Let's go try it. It's so therapeutic. Yeah. Indoor climbing is probably one of the sports that you use every single muscle in your body, and I didn't know that. Even you're using your fingers.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yes, you're using your toes, like your tippy toes.
Oh my gosh.
Your knees, your legs, your arms.
That's a good workout.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. And like you said, also doing things that you're curious about. Yeah. Because I feel like your curiosity led you to where you are in life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You've always been curious, and
I've always been like, oh, maybe I should try that. Yeah. And you know, if it doesn't work out, it just doesn't work out.
Exactly.
And
most of you never know.
Just never know.
You never know. Yeah.
Como dicen, like if you don't try, you just won't know, right?
Exactly. So just throw yourself out there. Yeah. And that's my biggest advice too for young people also, is just to try whatever it is, especially if you have no idea what you want to do with your life, if you're feeling lost or no direction. Taking a bunch of different classes or experimenting with different things that are piquing your interest can open up a door to like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, I could use my gifts through this medium. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you'll find gifts too that you didn't know that you were good at, because sometimes you feel like, so I grew up like painting a lot, but I'm not a painter, right? But I bring in a lot of my stuff. I incorporate a lot of paint and certain things in my brand or in my pieces. But eventually, I always say to myself, maybe I should take a painting class so I could get better, or I could be a little better. But yeah, it's just, you never know what kind of gifts you'll find, even if you're good at it.
Let's talk a little bit about career, because I wanted to talk about like the first big break that you had in your business. You can talk about the LA Clippers.
The experience working or being actually hired to do this project was, you know, since I've started my business and ever since I've had these opportunities, I think in the past I've worked with like Acura, we did Metro, PCS, so many brands that have
Ipsy,
PayPal that reached out. It's just been email, like word of mouth. Yeah. So they just email me because I mean I don't have a PR agency or a manager. It's just more they go to my website, they email me. It was just they wrote me an email and they said, we want to work with you. This is we've never really done it. We've done it, but not, you know, it was kind of like, I almost felt like it was an interview. So I'm kind of used to it when it comes to these, because I feel like they don't always just come to you. I think they get a bunch of artists and they kind of see, okay, let's see what they got, and kind of let's see. Okay. Yeah, it's almost like, let me see, let me see their story. Let me get to know them. And so it was just a conversation with Cam, the man that hired me, and the whole team. And they said, like,
how did you feel when you first saw that email?
At first, I felt like, oh, this is another those like spam, like we want to grow your business, stuff like that.
LA Clippers.
Yeah, they would. But then I saw one thing I do. So if there's any like entrepreneurs or small businesses that are looking for to see if this is like legit, I would always go to like their signature to see who they are, if they have a LinkedIn or their email. Their email is important. If you see like it's kind of off and you click on the website, it's kind of like, oh, this like spam thing, then obviously. So I researched him. So the thing is now that researching their full name on LinkedIn, you can see who they work with. So that's like my little trick now.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I looked him up, and then he's like, this is what we have in mind. Will you be interested? And I was just kind of like, give me a day to process this and actually think about it. Because again, I've never done any sports related anything. So other than, actually I did one for Estrella Jalisco, and it was for the Copa Mundial, but it was to make a jacket for inspired by Mexico el Tri, and I had to have like the logo of Estrella Jalisco. So it was like a beer company / for soccer, but it wasn't directly to a sports industry. And for this one, it was obviously I had to take a moment to process it and just kind of like, should I take it again? Like having these doubts, do I really belong in this space of like the sports industry? Is this something that I really wanna do? And it's not so much about the money, how much they offer you. It's just more about like, how is this going to represent my brand to the younger generation? Because I really have a deep passion for the younger generation. How are they going to look at me? Are they going to get inspired? Are they going to get motivated? Is there any entrepreneurs or small businesses that are working with sports industry? So for me, I have to like go into this, like, again, research. And I felt like, you know what? I felt like connection with Cam was just more like, he seems like a really nice, legit guy. In a very respectful way. And he told me there's no pressure if you don't want to work with us. Like you take the lead, basically. And when they give you the creative freedom to create from within, and the whole, like, it's on you with no rules, nothing. I mean, obviously there's certain things, but when they give you the full creative freedom, then that's like when you know it's like you're in a good space. And I was just shocked for a while, and I was like, I gotta do this. I gotta do this for my daughter, for my nieces, for all the little kids.
Lowe's knows what makes SpringFest savings even better are member-only doorbuster deals. Right now, rewards members can save $40 on an Allen & Roth Chesler Gold faucet. Was $99, now $59. Plus, save $110 on a Cobalt 40-volt battery trimmer and blower combo kit. Was $279, now $169. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 3/24 while supplies last. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Take your plans out of the group chat and get long weekend ready in new Abercrombie. From day to night, pack new outfits for every part of your itinerary. Grabbing brunch? Throw on the A&F Mila dress. Then head to your dinner reservation in their new bubble hem mini dress. And yes, permission to overpack for pics with the girls. Abercrombie's best-selling Scarlet Squirt deserves a post in your feed. Your plans are worth it. Shop Abercrombie's new long weekend collection online or in store.
So many people coming up, and all of us in the community watching that moment for you is so inspiring.
And seeing those people getting their shirts, because they got the shirts for free. Everybody getting their shirts, and they ran out. They were like, we're only going to give the first 5,000-6,000 people to come in free.
That's a lot of shirts.
That's a lot of shirts. And even getting comments, people are telling me like, I didn't know who you were, but now I know who you are. I was going to donate my shirt. I was like, donate my shirt. It's like, and so, and then they'll tell me like, now I'm going to keep it. And it was just a very special moment, mainly for like the people who look up to me.
Oh, definitely. And talking about inspiration, where does your inspiration come from?
My inspiration comes from, so again, being curious. So a lot has to do with like trying to still like embrace where I come from. That's always been so deeply passionate for me. Like I really want to cultivate that and preserve that as much as I can, to represent really where I came from, what made me, with a little twist, like making my own style and edgy style. But it's always been about representing of where you come from and being proud of where you come from and having not to be ashamed, regardless of how it looks. Because even sometimes I'll have conversations where people will ask me, oh, I really love what you're about, but I wouldn't wear that because that's I feel like that's not my color, or maybe how am I going to look? Am I going to look silly? I've always been like very simple and laid back. And I'm like, well, you know, I can't force them, right? But I always tell them, well, let me explain to you what inspired me to do this piece. Like, why a colibri? Why a hummingbird? And I'll tell them the story behind the collection, and they're like, wow, like, thank you for telling me the story. Makes me want to wear it and buy it or represent it.
Yeah.
And people tell me like, that's not my color, or maybe that's too colorful for me, or maybe that's too bland, but I'll wear it because there's a story behind it. And that to me is like everything.
Yeah. So in that aspect, what is the story on our latest collection?
It's
Arriba.
International Women's Day today.
Yes, it is. Feliz Dia de las Mujeres. Yeah, today.
International Women's Day.
International Women's Day. And so when I put this on today and this morning, I was like, oh, Dia de las Mujeres today. You know, it's a very beautiful shirt. So tell us about this collection. You're also wearing it in a different color.
Yes. Shout out to Dulce, who always like reps my business.
I love it. I'm a big fan.
I don't pay her.
No,
she generally supports from the very
Yes.
beginning.
Yeah.
You've always been so kind and so gracious with and representing my brand, and also like styling it like to the top tier. Where it's like, wow, you know, it's unbelievable. So I really wanted to take that time to say gracias for always representing and supporting.
I love it.
I feel like not just me, I feel like a lot of other small businesses, you're a huge foundation to a lot of the small businesses who you support and give back. So
thank you. I appreciate that. I was actually going to say earlier, you know, how you said you don't have a publicist, you don't have a manager. And I think something really important to touch before we leave today's episode is your giving nature. You know, like she's always giving me all kinds of free stuff too. She came home today to the interview with like just bearing gifts. And I think that says a lot about why you have so many great opportunities coming your way, because you give. You know, you're always planting those seeds. You're not looking for, you know, what can I get? What can I do? What can this person do for me? And that is so important. And that is, to me, the key of abundance. You know, the key of opportunities just being drawn to you, porque tú das de tu corazón, you know?
Yeah.
And so I got chills just saying that, because I feel like sometimes people overlook it and they think that they have to manipulate or use or not support or do all of these lower energy kind of things to get what they want. And it's never enough, even if they do get something. So.
And also, I feel like you could feel like I've always been a giver from the very beginning, but always like I'm very intentional who I give my time, my space, and also like my gifts. You know, I love giving. If I could give to the whole world. But I'm learning as recently, like I'll give from the heart if it comes from a good place, right?
Yeah.
Like, again, you're not looking for any feedback or attention or any like, what does she want, you know?
Yeah.
It's more of like, I'm very intentional of who I gift these things for. There's a story behind it. The tulips. The tulips was just to celebrate. Who doesn't like flowers every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
And it's International Women's Day. The book. I'm a bookworm.
Yeah.
I feel like if I could share some of my favorite books with the people that I admire or respect, they could make a use out of it, right? And so it's always, or the hair clips, for some reason I saw it and I thought about you. So it has to do a lot with the moon and like in your spiritual journey.
I'm also
and
a Cancer.
Yes. So it's like,
yeah.
So it's like for me, it's like, oh, when it comes to like giving and special to detail, that's like my go-to.
You have a daughter now who is about to graduate from high school. How is that like now that she's a young adult?
I'm just so excited for her to explore and be curious and take over the world, because I always tell her, you have a lot to offer. And I'm really excited to witness that. And I'm just going to be your biggest cheerleader, regardless of the emotions that I'm feeling. But I don't want to put that too much like about my feelings. This is her moment. I know she's been waiting to graduate and to do all these amazing things that she wants to do. So I'm just going to, you know, continue to support her and be there for her and root for her and let her do whatever she wants to do. I know I'm really excited for her because I have a good feeling she's going to do amazing things in this world.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I want to be selfish, but I can't be selfish. So I'm just going to be her, like,
supporting her,
just watching her and they're always going to be our babies, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we can ever do for our children is support whatever crazy idea they have. You know what I mean? I've learned that from my parents. They just support.
Yeah, you never know where
you never know
journey will take them.
And then also they have to experience life themselves and learn it by themselves.
Yeah.
So
you bump heads, you fall, you get up and try again and do it again. And if it doesn't work out, there's so many other things you could do.
Yes.
I'm excited for her.
Yeah, me too. I have a 13-year-old now, so
a teenager.
A teen. For the first year, I have the teen. So now I'm dealing with the little teen.
Enjoy the ride. All I can say is just enjoy the ride. It's never perfect, but it's never horrible either.
Yeah. So what is the biggest takeaway that you want the listeners to go home with today?
The biggest takeaway, well, I get asked a lot, especially in the like high school students. They'll ask me, how did you get to where you're at in your life? And I always tell them, like, we're all gifted in some way, whether you know it early on in your life or maybe later on in your life. Find that gift and use it as much as you can. You'll find passion, you'll find love, and then you'll start creating within. And then it just won't seem like a job. It won't seem like, oh, I have to do this because of my parents. Oh, I have to do this because everybody's doing it. It'll be more of like a passion in you. Just create within. Always create with intention, with love. I think when you surround yourself with so much love and intention and positivity, then you surround yourself with people in that circle. Because if, I always feel like if I'm always stressed out and watching these like emo movies and I'm like, so much chaos, then I'm going to attract that. And whatever I want to attract in life is I'm going to be surrounded in what makes me happy. If you love running and jogging at the beach, you'll meet people that run at the beach. You'll make friends there. You'll associate with friends that do things that you love. And for me, it's just create within and find that passion, whether you still don't know it. Because sometimes a lot of people don't know what they're gifted with or what they're passionate about. They'll find it throughout, their life sooner or later.
So what's next for you?
What's next for me?
This next chapter of your life, the next 10 years, or maybe just the next 5.
Obviously, to keep creating my brand. I love what I do so much. It just doesn't seem like a job. It's just more like, I'm doing this for free, which I'm not, but like, I feel like this is it's so special. I can't describe my business, but I guess for me, in the next 5-10 years, it's just really do things that make me truly happy. To not worry about what other people think or if I'm doing the best or if I'm doing enough. It's just more really like paying attention to me, continuing to listen to my body, to doing the things that make me happy, even if it's like listening to like the planes or the where they're going, tracking the planes. Things like that make me happy. It's just finding happiness, like things that make you happy. And it's so easy. I guess it's so easy to say, like, find things that make you happy, and maybe you need money, and obviously money, it's a big factor, but that's like another thing. But sometimes reading a book makes you happy. Sometimes going to the library. Libraries are free.
Yeah.
Even when inspiration, I don't know where to get inspired. There's a lot of museums that are free. Yeah. You could go in for free. You're inspired by the beach. You could go to the wilderness. You could go hiking. There's inspiration everywhere, even in here. Yeah. So it's like finding inspiration elsewhere, just being curious. Never lose curiosity of life, because life is pretty dope.
Oh, love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where can people find you so you guys can purchase the new line, Arriba las Mujeres?
Yes.
And connect with you. If they want to work with you, send her a DM. If you listen to her today.
You can find me at my website, raggedytiff.com, and my socials, Raggedy Tiff on Instagram, TikTok. Trying to be more social on TikTok. And that's it. That's all my socials.
Well, thank you so much. I just want to thank you so much for sharing all of your beautiful pieces of advice and wisdom and your life journey with my audience. I know it's going to, help someone listening out there, because it definitely helped me a lot today. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
Means a lot. Gracias.